I can't even believe what's going on. I have all the details and what you need to know right here in the video, so let's get right into it. Alright, now in this video, I do want to talk through multiple different reports that have recently hit the wire, and I can tell you this much, you're not going to hear this information from your local news. So let's get into it and work our way through these one at a time. So do you remember this past winter, how incredibly expensive it was to heat your home? In fact, a lot of people were paying about double this past winter versus what they were just a year before that. Well, guess what? A new report was just released showing that energy prices are going up again, and it's going to cost even more to heat our homes this winter versus what it did last year. Great, just what we all want to know. In fact, the report goes on to show that the average household right now this coming winter is going to pay an extra $177 more just to heat your home this winter over last year because energy prices are up yet again. Now, this is getting really expensive because remember, last year alone, like I said, we're about double the expenses on how much it cost to heat your home last year versus a year before that. And now we're going to pay even more than that. Wow, I mean seriously, it is like never ending right now with all these increases in price. Everything continues to go up, even though they tell us that inflation is going down a little bit. I don't really think so. No, we keep looking at all the reports, we keep looking at everything, and no, everything is getting even more expensive. Speaking about spending money, let's quickly talk about credit cards for a second. In fact, during a lot of videos here, I've been talking a lot about how people are virtually out of money right now. A lot of people have depleted their savings if they had any in the first place. In fact, a separate report has come out showing that only 1/3 of the 2/3 of people who actually had a savings have savings left. The other 1/3 of people, it's all gone. Their savings is gone. There's only 1/3 of the people now who have a savings that are actually dipping into that savings every single month to make ends meet right now versus previously a few months ago, about 2/3 of the population had a savings set aside. 1/3 of the population has already eaten through that savings and they're putting those balances on credit cards now, and the other 1/3 who has a savings is still eating that savings away by digging into it every single month. Yeah, again, things are very expensive. However, let's quickly talk about credit cards for a second. A new report was just released on credit cards as well, and it shows that us, the United States consumers as a whole, we have about $900 billion in credit card debt. That's incredible. Almost $1 trillion in credit card debt. That's a lot of debt on credit cards. Now, here's the thing, too. Credit cards on average right now are ranging between 18 and 25% interest. That's the average credit card out there right now for anybody. Doesn't matter if they have good credit, bad credit, anywhere in between. The average credit card right now has an interest rate of 18 to 25%. That's a lot of interest to be paying on $900 billion of credit card debt, right? So that's what we want to take into consideration. However, here's the scary part about these numbers right now. So the report also goes on to show that this nearly $900 billion of credit card debt that we have right now collectively as Americans is 13% higher than what it was last year at this same time. Now, you might be wondering, okay, what does this actually mean? The 13%. The 13% year-over-year increase in credit card debt is a record. That's the most we have ever collectively added to credit card debt in one single year. 13% year over year is a record. That's probably not a record that we should be all too excited about, because that just means all that money someday needs to be paid back by somebody, right? Yeah, and it's only getting more expensive because we know the Federal Reserve continues to raise interest rates, and as they do, they're costing more and more money for the American consumer right now because interest rates on credit cards are also going up, right? Anyway, as long as we're talking about debts here, we're talking about the Federal Reserve, let's quickly talk about another report that recently came out talking about the Federal Reserve and how much this latest interest rate hike is going to cost us, yet again, the consumer, or what I should say is taxpayers, with the national debt. Wow, I hope you're sitting down for this one. So, this latest 75 basis point rate hike out of the Federal Reserve just a few days ago is going to cause the national debt to increase by another $2.1 trillion over the course of 10 years. Now, why? Why would this cause more debt to be loaded onto this country? Here's why. Because as the Federal Reserve continues to raise interest rates, they're actually raising interest rates on how much it costs us, as in the country as a whole, to borrow money. So not like each individual us, like people, but rather the country as a whole, because the United States is deeply, deeply in debt. The United States is broke. I mean, we act like we're so rich and, all that stuff. No, the United States is broke. We're in debt by $31 trillion. So that's not a lot of money to have. I mean, that's like broke. I mean, that's just straight up broke. The United States has no money. We have $31 trillion in debt. Well, as a result of that, as they continue to raise interest rates, that just means it costs them more and more with all of this debt. Well, as a result of raising this interest rate by 75 basis points, this one hike alone is going to cost the taxpayers, the United States taxpayers, an extra $2.1 trillion over the course of the next 10 years just in interest. It's crazy, right? However, if you think that's crazy, let me tell you another crazy part of this story. Here's what it comes down to. So just this year in 2022, or what I should say is in fiscal year 2022, so from October 1st of 2021 through September 30th of 2022, that was fiscal year 2022, the federal government paid $400 billion in interest on the debt, okay? That's what we paid just in interest. $400 billion just in interest. Not bad, right? I mean, just imagine. It'd be nice to be on the other side of that, collecting all that interest. I mean, wouldn't need to work again, would you? That's a lot of interest to be collecting, right? But anyway, get this. In the next 10 years, between now and 2032, the national debt is going to continue to increase. The interest payments on that debt is going to balloon from $400 billion in fiscal year 2022 up to $1.2 trillion by 2032. That's crazy, right? So just in the next 10 years, we're going to owe $1.2 trillion per year just in interest on the debt that we have here in this country. That's a lot. $1.2 trillion in interest alone. That's not even principal, right? So when it goes back to credit cards, think of the analogy of this. You have a credit card. You have, say, $35 trillion of debt on it, or more than that. You have to pay $1.2 trillion every single year just in interest. Can you imagine? It's crazy. It's so, like, the numbers are so big, it's like, I can't even believe what's going on here, right? But this is the fact of the matter, and unfortunately, nothing's going to change about this. This is our future, right? So when you hear everybody talking about, we're borrowing against the futures of our grandkids, yeah, truly are, right? We're seeing it right here. We are basically racking up all this debt so that they can pay for it. I don't know. Sounds kind of sad to me, but that's what's going on. It's been happening for a very long time. Next, let me quickly talk about another report here and showing that food banks right now are reporting that they're seeing the highest influx and the highest demand for foods at their food banks since the depths of the 2020 lockdowns. So do you remember when the 2020 lockdowns came in? Everybody was kind of pretty much locked at home. We were all, stuck at home. A lot of people didn't have money. People were out of work and all kinds of problems were coming in. Well, you remember the lines? Do you remember seeing the videos and the lines and the pictures of literally miles and miles of cars lined up at food banks trying to get in to get a box of food? Do you remember this? This happened in like 2020 when everybody was all locked down and stuff like that. Real thing. It was happening. There were tons and tons of cars just trying to get in. I mean, miles worth of cars just trying to get boxes from food banks. Well, what they're saying now is these food banks are reporting that the demand right now for food out of their food banks is at the highest levels that they've seen since those days, the early 2020, the lockdown days of 2020. Scary yet again. Again, why is this happening? Is it because, everybody's just trying to get some food these days? Well, yeah, it's trying to get some food, but why the reason is because food inflation continues to go up. We know that food has gone up about 14% over the last year. Well, I'm sorry, but if you're somebody living on a small fixed income, a 14% increase on anything that you're buying on a regular basis, like food, is going to make it very, very difficult, right? So a lot of people are turning to food banks and food pantries to make sure that they're getting making ends meet every single month just by going in and picking up some extra necessities and things like that, because the little fixed income benefits, the low income, whatever income people have right now, simply is no longer cutting it. Hasn't been cutting it for a while now, and these food banks are really seeing the major amount of demand coming in. I'm going to throw a prediction out there. This is just my prediction. I hope this is not the case, but unfortunately, I think this is going to be the case going forward. Between now and the end of the year, through the holiday season, these food banks are going to struggle to keep up because there's going to be so much demand. The cold weather's rolling in. People are looking for a place, to help them out with some extra food right now. Expenses have gone up. Prices are going up. Food prices and food inflation will continue to go up through the rest of the year. I'm imagining that between now and the end of the year, these food banks are really, really going to be stretched thin because there's going to be a lot of people coming in trying to get some food right now. And again, I hope that's not the case. I hope that things get fixed. But unfortunately, hoping is not a strategy, right? So anyway, super sad stuff. I mean, seriously, like I said at the beginning of the video, I cannot believe what is going on right now. It's crazy. It's nuts, right? So, I mean, I honestly don't even know what else to say about all this stuff. These are headlines, like I said, information that I'm finding on a regular basis that your local news is not going to tell you this stuff. They're not going to come out and tell you that, all these things. Credit card debt is basically at a record right now. People are struggling and hitting up food banks. They might talk about that, to be real. In your local area, some local news stations may possibly talk about, influx or, more demand at local food banks because they might be looking for donations. And that's great. Hopefully, some people can step up and offer some donations and things like that to help out the people who need it right now. That'd be great too. So maybe they will talk about that story. But a lot of things that we're talking about here, like the $2.1 trillion in debt that we're going to be paying over the next, several years because of this 0.75% rate hike from the Federal Reserve and all kinds of stuff like this. Your local news is not going to tell you this stuff. But this is what's really, really going on right now. So the struggle is real. The struggle is a real thing. A lot of people are having a pretty hard time right now. And as I continue to tell you, I'm here for you in any way that I possibly can be to continue doing all this research and breaking it all down into these short videos so you can stay updated with what is actually going on because all of this is impacting us in some way, shape, or form. And I want you to know what is going on out there, how it's going to impact us, all these different reports that are coming out letting us know what's actually happening right now, as well as everything else that's happening. I mean, seriously, it's a busy time. And realistically, over the next few months here, it's only going to get busier and busier. And honestly, the struggle is going to get even more real, okay? I'm not saying that I hope that. I do not want that to happen. But again, I'm being a realist right now, looking at the real situation. I'm looking at the real picture that we're painting in front of us. And it's not a good one, okay? Anyway, I'm here for you. That's why we're doing all these cash drops. We're doing all of the Amazon projects, sending out the necessities, all kinds of things like that to those of you here in the community. We're doing everything we possibly can to reach as many of you here in the community as we possibly can, as quickly as possible. And again, we're just working with the resources and, the abilities that we have. But again, just trying to do our part because honestly, Congress isn't doing a whole lot. And who knows if they actually will. But either way, we need to do something. And that's exactly what I'm doing here on this channel as well. So again, if you haven't done so, please make sure to subscribe down below, share the video with your friends, family, social media, and go back and check out any of the other thousands and thousands of videos here on the channel. Until next time, please have a nice day. Remember that I'm here for you in any way that I can be. I wanted to bring you some of these reports so that you can see what is really going on right now during this whole craziness that continues to happen. Anyway, enjoy your day. I'll catch you again later in the next video.